Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. Quick announcement before we get started. I know a lot of you were big fans of the pumpkins that I had in the background, but those got rotten and we had to throw them away. And now there are these two little gourds here. Hopefully that suffices. Also, make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these uploads. And let's go ahead and get right into the basketball. In tonight's video, we're going to be focusing primarily on the Sacramento Kings, who are trying to break their playoff streak of 16 seasons, the longest in professional sports right now, and they've looked great to start the season. In this game, they beat the Brooklyn Nets by 32 points, 153 to 121. It's the most points any NBA team has scored this season, and it's the most points the Nets have ever given up as a franchise. That just shows how great they were offensively, which is how they've been winning games. They're a top 5 offense, and I'm sure after this performance, there's a good chance they're in the top 3. The stats haven't updated, but if you check them tomorrow, I can guarantee they will be pretty close to number 1, if not there themselves. They've been incredible on that end. Defense is still a problem. Of course, you can see the Nets scored a lot in this game, but offensively, they've been a juggernaut as of recently. And after starting the season 0-4, they're now sitting at 7-6. They've won 7 of their last 9 games, and they're doing it in a really impressive way. They're not just winning games, but even in their losses, both of them were by 3 points, and they kind of got screwed in both of those L's, with Kevin Huerter getting decked against the Warriors. They didn't call it a foul on a 3-point attempt to try and send the game to overtime, and then against the Miami Heat, which they lost, Tyler Hero hit a game winner, which the NBA later said that he traveled on. So if those calls went the way they were supposed to, the Kings could potentially be on a 9-game win streak. That's how good they've been. They're competing against every single team that they face, and tonight they just blew out a far inferior opponent. De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis both had pretty solid games, although they didn't have monster stat lines because they were out of this game probably by midway through the third quarter. Terrence Davis was probably the best player for the Kings tonight, though. He had 31 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists, and almost single-handedly flipped the script in this game in the second quarter. He came in, got like 3 steals, knocked down some threes, transition buckets, and all of a sudden it was like a 20-point game. Right now, Sacramento looks better than they have in a very, very long time. And a lot of that, of course, goes back to De'Aaron Fox, who right now is having a career season by basically every metric. He's really transforming into the all-star caliber player that the Kings needed him to become. Last year, he had a really down season, and a lot of people sold their stock, me included, to be honest. I was kind of down on De'Aaron Fox heading into this season, and he's been incredible. Him and Sabonis have been a phenomenal offensive pairing. They play well off of each other, but Fox is playing better than I'm sure even most Fox fans would have thought he would have. Right now, not only is he knocking down his usual shots in the mid-range, he's been incredible from the mid-range. He's knocking down floaters. He's an incredible attacker of the basket, still one of the fastest players in the league, but he's drilling threes at a really high rate as well. He's been one of the most efficient guard scorers in the league at this point, averaging a career high in points, making plays for others, playing solid defensively. Fox has really transformed his game and really become an all-star caliber talent. Sabonis really struggled to start the season, but has really caught fire as of late and is a huge reason why they're starting to find success. He scored 20 plus points in 5 of the Kings' last 7 games. He had a 26-point, 22-rebound game against the Golden State Warriors, an absolute monster effort from him. He has 3 more double-doubles over that 7-game stretch, and he hasn't had less than 6 assists this entire month of November. He's grabbing boards, he's scoring efficiently, and he's playmaking for the guys around him. He is an offensive hub at the center position, which is exactly what they were looking for when they traded Tyrese Haliburton for him. And they've got a great cast of role players outside their 2 stars. Kevin Huerter in particular has been an absolute monster this season, one of the most under-the-radar pickups for any team this past offseason, and he has made them look like geniuses for bringing him in. He's averaging around 16 points per game on 51.1% shooting from 3. That is absurd, and he shoots them at a high rate. It's not like he's shooting 2 a game and making 1 of them. He is shooting like 7 threes, 9 threes, 6 threes. Tonight, he had 19 points, knocking down a few threes here and there. He's just been incredible all season, playing solid defense as well. He has slotted in perfectly, and Fox and Sabonis get him a ton of open looks, and not even open looks, he just knocks down contested ones. There are very few players, maybe even nobody, shooting better than Huerter has this season so far. You've got Keegan Murray, who has come in and hasn't been phenomenal, hasn't been quite the rookie of the year that some people thought he might be, but he's playing really well within his role, especially as a rookie alongside 2 stars that have pretty high usage rates. He's been really good for them so far, defending, making shots, making all the right plays, being a good connector amongst those guys. guys. Harrison Barnes has really struggled up to this point, but seems to maybe be turning a corner. You've got great play from guys like Malik Monk, who looks really solid as a signing. Davion Mitchell, Terrence Davis, we talked about having a 31-point game. Trey Lyles has been solid, Shmezi Metu. They have just done a great job of filling this team with solid role players around their 2 stars, and the Kings have built a legit squad that I really think could make the playoffs. It's been a long time since I've had this much faith in a Kings roster. I picked them to make the play-in before the season, and they've looked better than a lot of these other teams. If they keep playing the way that they have, playing at a high level, competing every night, there's a real chance the Kings don't even have to use the play-in tournament to get into the playoffs, because there have been a lot of teams that have been disappointing to start the year, and maybe the Kings defense will eventually catch up with them, but so far their offense has been incredible. They find ways to put the ball in the basket, whether it's Sabonis post-ups, who he's been a monster, by the way. Nobody can stop him down low. Fox drilling threes or attacking off the dribble. Herter drilling threes at a 51% clip. They find ways to score regardless of what your defense does. The Brooklyn Nets defense coming into this game has been one of the best in the league over these last 5-6 games since they've had Jacques Vaughn as their head coach, but it didn't matter, and they gave up a franchise record number of points because the Kings offense completely torched them. They made them look silly. Mike Brown has done a really solid job with this team. Once again, it is still very early. There's still a good chance that they kind of regress a bit, especially, like I said, that defense is quite concerning, but right now the Kings look great. They're shooting up a beam from their stadium every time they win. They're having fun too. The crowd is one of the loudest in the league right now. If you watch Kings games, there's an energy in Sacramento that feels like fans know how good this team can be. They feel the playoff drought slowly sinking away, potentially. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but it does feel like Sacramento is kind of flipping the narrative. The culture is shifting, and it's being led by their stars, a cast of great role players, and the best team Sacramento has had in a minute. On the net side of things, Kevin Durant had a really solid game with 27 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists, but basically nobody helped. Ben Simmons did have probably his best individual game of the season, scoring double digits for the first time this year with 11, 6, and 3, but nobody was really doing much at all. Kevin Durant was asked after the game about the Sacramento Kings, and he straight up said that they're a better team than us, which they are right now. You know, maybe Kyrie comes back, Ben Simmons figures things out, and the Nets eventually regain some kind of form, but I'm not feeling super optimistic with Brooklyn at the moment. In some other news, the Pelicans get a win over the Memphis Grizzlies without Zion Williamson. Brandon Ingram only had 19 points, but CJ McCollum had his best game of the season. He's really been hit or miss to start the year, but this one was one that maybe could turn things around for him. He had 30 points, he was knocking down threes, making plays for others. He had 9 assists too. Just all around great effort from CJ McCollum. And they really flexed their depth in this game. They got a lot of great minutes from some of those guys that go unheralded by a lot of people. They got 13 from Trey Murphy, 19 and 7 from Larry Nance Jr., who added a poster dunk to his stat sheet, 12, 3, and 6, and some great defense from Jose Alvarado, who really helped shift the momentum when the Grizzlies made a little bit of a run. This is just a really deep Pelicans team. Ja Morant was his usual self, dropping 36 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists in the L. He had some crazy highlight plays showing off his elite athleticism, but didn't get much help overall. They really missed Desmond Bane and his ability to create offense down the stretch. At the end of the game, it was basically just give Ja Morant the ball and let him go. Every now and again, Dillon Brooks would take a shot, and most of the time, it was a shot that Dillon Brooks probably should not be taking. He did score 19 points, but he was missing a lot more shots than he was making. The shot selection remains an issue with him. They just really needed a guy like Desmond Bane who could be a secondary option. They did get Jaren Jackson Jr. back in this game, his first game of the season. He really struggled. He had 7 points and he had a few blocks, but he shot 3 of 14 from the field. It's his first game back from a major injury. I'm not concerned at all, but it is going to take him some time to get back to form. And shout out to Brandon Clark, who had a double-double. Meanwhile, in Mavericks versus Clippers, Luka Doncic hit an insane prayer 3 in the last minute to give Dallas the win, and he ended up dropping 35 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists on the night. It feels like every time he plays the Clippers, he really shows out and finds some way to break their hearts, and this game was no exception to that rule. Now, Dallas did almost blow this game. They got outscored by 18 points in the third quarter after blowing LA out in the first half, but they held on in the end due to the heroics from Luka, as well as Reggie Bullock, who really turned it up down the stretch, hitting some huge buckets, and ultimately they came out with the win. For the Clippers, Paul George had 23, 7, and 6 on 7 of 13 shooting, but had 10 turnovers, which were very costly. He just couldn't seem to hold on to the ball tonight, and they got some good performances from some other guys too, like Batum had 7 of 7 shooting from 3 for 22 points. Marcus Morris had 18 points on 7 of 11 shooting. John Wall had 17, 6, and 4, but they turned the ball over 21 times to the Mavericks 12, and that was ultimately what cost them. They just couldn't get any offense going in the first half, and it continues to be an issue. They've been one of the worst offenses in the NBA so far. They just can't get much reliable offense going. They can't knock down shots, ones that you would assume these guys on the Clippers would be able to hit. Playmaking hasn't really been there either. It feels like Reggie Jackson's not really doing the job up until tonight. John Wall's been pretty rough. Kawhi Leonard not being there to be someone they can consistently go to also brings up some problems. The Clippers just haven't been great so far. You know, they're still fine, but I expected them to be NBA champions at the end of the season, and so far they have not looked the part whatsoever. Then we had Blazers versus Spurs, where Portland got a dub, once again led by Jeremy Grant, who had 29 points. Anthony Simons hit a huge dagger 3 late in this one to put the game out of reach. Dame and him both scored over 20 points, and Portland just keeps rolling. They've been really impressive. Like I said, Jeremy Grant has been huge for this team, having that third option, a guy at the wing that can create his own shot and ultimately kind of just be someone else that could take the pressure off those two lead guards. It's huge for Portland. It's something they really haven't had in the past, and he's been an incredible pickup for them. For the Spurs, they were led by their big three, with Keldon Johnson dropping 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, Devin Vassell dropping 21 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists, and Jakob Poeltl dropping a career-high 31 points along with 14 rebounds and 5 dimes. They have really been the story of the team so far, easily their best 3 players, and if Jakob Poeltl's on the trade market, his value just continues going up. Meanwhile, Jeremy Sohan, been really impressed with him defensively. In this game, he was taking on basically every matchup. He had the assignment of guarding Damian Lillard towards the end. He was pressing up on guys, basically anyone that he was guarding. I just really like what he brings to this team, his tenacity. Still trying to find a rhythm offensively, but defensively, it really feels like San Antonio got a stud. In Knicks versus Jazz, Kelly Olynyk dropped 27 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 assists, but it wasn't enough to stop the New York Knicks, led by Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett, who both had really solid games, and Cam Reddish, who dropped 19 points and seems to have really found a role as of late with New York. It's been super impressive what he's been doing. He's been playing more within his role. He's getting more opportunities, and he's taking advantage. He's being consistent too, which has always been the question with Cam. Can he be consistent in the flashes that he's shown? And if he keeps playing like this, there's a real chance he could become a staple of this rotation. That's all I have to say about the games tonight. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. Go ahead and leave a comment letting me know if you think this is the year that the Kings finally break their playoff drought, or do you think that they're going to come back down to earth? Do you think De'Aaron Fox or Domantas Sabonis should be an all-star? Let me know all of that down below. I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real and Say back.